Hey, what up, guys? I just reached Master with Labrynth, so just thought I'd talk about it since I did say I was gonna talk about it a little bit. Um, I started at Diamond 4 this season, and mostly just been playing Labrynth. I want to say about 90% of my games was with Labrynth, and maybe a couple of games with Trap Tricks, but otherwise, just straight up Labrynth is all that I'm playing right now. And this is essentially my sort of my final build, I guess. Well, I want to say in quotation final build because I'm still messing around with this, but the extra deck I want to say it could be optimized a little bit better. I throughout all the 30 games or so I played to get to Masters this particular season, I summoned maybe Dark and maybe Mudcracker once each, and then I never summoned anything else. So it is what it is. Like this particular build, I'm not using too much, uh, you know, extra deck monsters to summon out whatever's. Anyways, besides that fact, let's look at the build now. So I changed a few things about the build. I played a lot, and in Diamond, I think when I say like 2/3 of my matches were against tier elements, and it's a toss up sometimes. If I get a good hand and they don't just like blow me out, or they go first or something like that, the deck can combat tier elements pretty well. As you can see, a couple of cards that I played that is just focused on just taking down tier elements, and then a couple other things where it didn't do too well, but or just me misplaying. But here's essentially like the list that I've been liking. So for all the playing, I felt like I only really needed one Clue Cock. I thought I needed two. And honestly, two only ever comes up if one of them gets banished by Abyssriel, but even then, it's not really that big of a deal. Normally, you'd use Clue Cock just to do like your turn 0 combos and your turn 1 combos. And after that, he doesn't really have that much of a use as the game goes on. He ends up just being more or less like a discard fodder. So yeah, Clue Cock not that super important to the deck, depending on how you build the deck. So with the way I built the deck, I don't think I really needed it all that much. Other than that, I did add in Baldric, because sometimes I was drawing like Druid Swarm and then I draw Mammoth Hut, and I would not have a target to be able to search with Mammoth Hut, so that kind of came up a few times. So decided to just go ahead, add in Baldric, and I think Baldric's the other best one that you can play. Not as good as these two, but he does serve his purpose. Where like if you have him on the board and maybe you brought back a Stovey from the graveyard, you can just sack the Stovey, and then maybe hit a tier element like Fusion Monster or something like that. That hasn't really come up too often for me, but I namely just used him as either a body or just to DD Crow my opponent's tier element monsters. And essentially, this entire package you kind of need. And I think the Keldol and the Medora have been really good. They are essentially like the best cards, anti-tier elements, anti-graveyard decks, Dragon Links, etc. Like you really kind of need them. They're great discard fodder. Especially when you have the Stovey and Chandelier, they're really good targets for discarding. Or if they mill you with Kelbeck or the other one, then if they mill your deck like 10 cards, there's a high probability you'll get one of these into your graveyard, and then you can just activate and disrupt their plays, which is really good. Or during their turn, you can like chain. They're trying to combo off, you can chain this, discard this for cost, and then use this in a separate chain link. So yeah, I think at first I didn't really like them, but then just playing in the higher tier of like competitive play per se, I think they are kind of like a must in the Labrynth deck, because I think we can make they're not breaks per se. I mean, they are breaks, but at the same time, when you draw them and you draw one of these, it's just really good. And getting these out aren't that terribly difficult. So yeah, so I've been liking those two. I've been liking the Bistrils. You can banish your own stuff if you just need bodies on the board. They're a little tricky though sometimes, because sometimes I forget that they're not they're not quick effects unless your opponent has a monster, or if you use Welcome Labyrinth, you're locked out of you're locked into Fiends, and these are obviously not fiends, so just be careful about that. Sometimes I do mess up a little bit, but otherwise, when I open them in hand, they're pretty good, especially against Teal'c's or any essentially dark decks. I haven't really faced too many mirror matches. I haven't really faced many trap tricks either or anything like that. Like all my matches has been mostly like Dragon Links, Teal'c's, um, and like sprites and runics and stuff like that. So those are the best decks in the format. Labrynth and like trap tricks are like maybe tier 2, tier 3. They're not really up there, but this particular build I'm pretty happy with right now. Yeah, everything else is pretty standard. Extravagance pretty standard. I haven't gotten screwed by extravagance yet. I did play a third copy of Entis just in case, and that came up one time. Like I banished like 2 Entis off of extravagance, and then I had Dogmatica punishment, and then I had another one in great or in the extra deck, which was kind of nice. So bumped up to 3. Nothing else in here really matters at all. Like you just don't need anything in here. Compulse. So the Compulse, I personally like because it outs the tier elements. What's her face? Yeah, outs Rukalos, because I think Rukalos stops Ice Dragon Prison Mirror, which kind of because I think it special summons this, so it stops that. And then you can also use it on your own stuff to bounce back and recycle and trigger either silver or trigger lovely or lady whenever you need to, which is kind of nice. Or trigger any of these in the graveyard. You just bounce something back to your hand, and then you just trigger these, summon these. So they're kind of nice. Obviously, it's a targeted removal. So if you're playing against something that can't be targeted, then yeah, it kind of sucks. But otherwise, I don't think I really came across anything that couldn't be targeted. The only card that you generally can't target this with is like in the mirror match you can't target Lady, obviously, but you're unlikely going to use this against Lady anyways. You're probably going to use this against Lovely or something like that. So I would say that's the only time Compulse is kind of bad. It's against the mirror matches. But other than that, like if you're not playing against mirror matches, playing against any fusion deck, any synchro deck, it's generally a really good spot removal, and I much prefer it over Ice Prison or Ice Dragon Prison. And yeah, because you special summon it, so it can be stopped by Rukalos, and most of the time this deck just dies to Rukalos. Like you don't care about the heart or anything. If they get Rukalos on you and you only have one welcome Labrynth or one big welcome, you're just gonna you can't out her at all without just going neg. And so Compulse kind of deals with Rukalos, and it allows you to be able to also use big welcome and baby or big and small welcome to be able to special summon. Because yeah, she will legit very hard out for this particular deck. Eradicator was great when I knew what matchup I was going into, or if I just blind activate it. I always call spells most of the time, and that usually does the job. Because almost every deck plays spells except for Labrynth, and you don't really play against too many other Labrynths, so just blind activating this, calling spells is generally good enough. I hadn't had any issues with it. The only time it's obviously bad is it's just you just top deck it and you have nothing else on the board. Then it gets kind of bad. But this card, used correctly, will just blow out your opponent, and you'll just, they'll call it there. Dimensional Barrier, very important for this deck too right now, especially fighting against all the tier decks, all the branded fusion decks. So these 2 cards are blowout against them. Barrier for sure will lock them out, both decks out of their extra deck. Really good. This card's so, you'll hit some important spells. Maybe you hit a branded fusion, whatnot. I've hit Sky Strikers. I hit Sky Strikers for 4 cards. I hit branded for 4 cards, and it just straight up blows them out. But with Dimensional Barrier, they can sometimes play around it a little hard, but it's a possibility. So, but yeah, if you can just start recycling this thing with Lovely, then you pretty much got the game. Every turn you just activate set the barrier, they will just scoop from there. Permanence, I still like it. Definitely one of the good hand traps. Probably not that great, but it's a way to sort of 2-for-1 your opponent. It's like one of our worst removals because if you use it against Tyroments, you're gonna be crying because if you hit any of their monsters, yeah, they're gonna just trigger and kill you. But against everything else, it's pretty decent. Against Dragon Links, it's pretty good. Against sprites and whatnot, it's kind of pretty decent. But yeah, two welcomes and three big welcomes. Definitely need three of these for sure. This is so. I think so far I haven't needed a third one because it kind of recycles itself, and you have Lovely to recycle it, so haven't really come up. This card I haven't really seen too much of when I play, but when I do get it, definitely a blowout card. Like it just shuts down your opponent. They just can't do shit, which is kind of nice. Like Tyroments will just have a hard time outing this card. Dragon Links definitely have a hard time outing this card. Most things, I think sprites have a way to get rid of skill drain, but if they're mostly monster based, they're mostly a monster based deck, they just won't be able to out this, and then every turn you can just bring back Lady for 3k beater, and you can kind of get remove any big things they have with punishment or compulse. So and then you have also other bodies, other 25 bodies, pretty good there. So yeah, skill drain I think is a nice one of. Now obviously you can also play the other floodgate. You can play rivalry or goes and match, which I don't think you really honestly need. I haven't really come well, at least I don't think I like. Yeah, I wouldn't like rivalry because then you won't be able to summon out any of your bestial stuff, so like that would kind of suck. Or if you have a bestial and you activate rivalry, you're kind of stuck on dragons, and that kind of sucks. Poison match, I would say probably okay to play because all your monsters are essentially dark types anyways. Even your extra deck stuff, like most of it is dark, so I guess you can play Poison and skill drain depending on the build. I don't think rivalry would work too well in the deck, especially if you're playing the bestial package, so that's up to you. But yeah, skill drain is pretty good. Alright, so I'm go ahead and show you some of my gameplays. So I was on a losing streak a few days ago, just like being tilted and straight up like losing every match I had, which kind of sucked. But yeah, let's watch a couple of replays. So yeah, to hit Masters today, and I'll just kind of show you my match history. So yeah, wasn't kidding. That was on a sort of a losing streak. Diamond 1 this time around for me was the hardest one to climb out of. So as you can kind of tell, I was stuck in Diamond 1 for a couple of days. I think 2 days. Just winning, losing. Got demoted and went up. And then, yeah, it was tough. But overall, most of my losses were just tier elements. Like either they went first, set up a crazy board, I couldn't out it, or I went first, kind of bricked, couldn't really stop their plays. So it's just kind of a toss up. But let's just watch some of the I guess the 4 here then. So to kind of show you how I piloted the deck, and obviously I misplayed a few times, but I think these weren't too bad. I think I didn't see any auto scoops, maybe one time. But yeah, let's see here. And I'll kind of pause the game too and commentate as we watch this. So yeah, at this point I'm thinking he's got a small Thunder Engine package in there. Yeah, he's doing the Punk Engine. So I figured this card is really important to stop, so I just imperm it. He had obviously nothing to stop the imperm. Here's where I changed Max C. I think Max C essentially sort of wins me the game here. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, so here I just drew into the Ash. If I didn't draw off the Ash off the Max C, I think I would have lost here. If he activates that, I just chain Ash to stop this from giving more stuff into the graveyard. Because honestly, there's probably nothing else I would really care for to Ash, and I think Chaos Ruler is important. So yeah, my choices there was fine. I stopped his Chaos Ruler, ditched that, set another welcome. Excuse me. Banish whatever, draw something, activate that. So here, the entire plan here was to maybe get out Lady and then activate Welcome to trigger her and grab a trap card. But the reason why I did this is because I still wanted to activate, I think, Welcome Labrynth just to get out a boss monster anyways. So we did that because I wanted to get out Lovely. I think here's I'm just like, okay, we give up the search for with Lady, and we get out big Lovely, and with Lovely we can annihilate a card in his hand and then trigger Stovey and Chandelier in our graveyard. Once we activate Big Welcome in our graveyard to return the Chaos Ruler. So that was my game plan. So I go Lovely here. He draws his card, that's fine. I set another Welcome for the turn after. So I decided to just go ahead and blow up a card in his hand and activate this to return that to deck. I could have possibly waited and just to see what Lovely blows up first, but I was like, alright, whatever. So I was able to chain all these. He gets all Bistro, which is fine. Not a huge deal. Get the body on the board. Blow a card in his hand. That was a pretty good hit. Blow that. And I know he's gonna just kill Lovely, but might as well just do that. So I have a pretty good setup right now, alright? So finds out he's playing Tier Elements, no surprise there. And I think here I misplay a little bit, but we activate Love. We're trying to get Lovely out right now, I think is what we're doing here. So the reason why I did that, activate Welcome and then activate Lovely, or this is to get out Lovely, right? And this is to get out Clue Clock, because I want to get Clue Clock out immediately. I didn't want to get another Ariana because Ariana is going to activate anyways and draw us a card. So why bother searching and summoning her out? Instead, we're going to summon out the Clue Clock and we're going to try to grab Dimensional Barrier is what we're doing here. We activate that and we pitch the Clue Clock after to make sure we're able to you can kind of see my building, my chain link. So the thing with this deck is just sequencing. A lot of it is sequencing in this deck. It's kind of crazy. We pull up another card. We don't really care because I was okay with that. Cause now I can activate Barrier for sure. In a separate chain link, activate Barrier, calling the fusion. This way he can't trigger the Merly, and then he's stuck with a Kikalos on the board that doesn't really do anything. Yeah, Fairytale Ash. This fucking thing needs to be banned, honestly. It's what makes this deck really good too. It doesn't matter. We've already drawn our cards, so here I was afraid of him going into Underworld Goddess, I guess. And so that's why I preemptively activated the Dogmatica punishment. As you can see, my banish, I did banish 2 Entis here, and so I had the third one in the deck that I was about to, or that I just sent off of the punishment. Alright, so here I choose to destroy the Havness, because I was, for some reason, I was afraid of him going into Time Thief. I just realized Havness is, you know, level 3 anyways. But regardless, if we get her off the board, then he won't be able to use it next turn anyways, because he's locked out of fusion. So might as well just get rid of her now. He mills a bunch more, and he also mills my deck too. I think he mills me both a Keldo and a Medora from my deck. So as you can kind of see how this, he activates his target my Lovely. I chain it to return my Lovely and his Ash or his Fairy Tale, forcing him to activate it. He banishes a bunch. I think we let that resolve because no point in trying to do it again. I get the Entis back, but I probably could have gotten something else, honestly. And we activate the Ash that we saved the entire game. And stop the E-Telly, and I think that's it. Gets up the Sprite here. And as you can see, activate Sprites, targeting that. I activate Mordora, return the Diviner. Hindsight, I probably should have also targeted his level 2... sorry, Merly. But I think I targeted myself one card. But yeah, I think I should have targeted the Merly too. He chains Fairy Tale again. That's fine. He brings her out again. Really annoying. I don't know why I returned Eradicator. I'm thinking I was gonna reuse it against this deck for some reason, but honestly, the better target here would have been to hit the Merly and just shove that back into the deck. And yeah, he scoops him there. And no way for him to really out this board. So, all right. So that's game. That was the first game of today. Let's play this one. I think this time around I actually win a lot of my die roll, so it was pretty decent. Yeah, this definitely gets punished by Ash. This play gets heavily punished by Ash, but luckily he did not have it, so blow a random card. Good thing it's another tier elements. Good thing we didn't hit it, so we just shoved 2 cards face down. And we have relatively decent interruption here. So it's sort of important because there's not much cards to Ash in the deck, so it's always kind of a sort of important to stop their initial play, which I'm doing here to stop the Diviner. Because if Diviner dumps something, dumps a Merly or whatever they want, or sorry, dumps not Merleys, dumps their Clydo, their Kelbeck or whatnot. Then they mill 5, they do all that thing. They also have level 6, so they can easily go into Baron. So here I just stop this to make sure it stays level 2 and force them to, you know, have a way to play out of it for their hand. So it does that. So I activate Maxi, pretty good. So here I get the Arane. He has it anyways. He has both of them. He activates both. Pretty good. Pretty good. Maxi's me. Like, the thing I like about Labrynth is that Maxi doesn't really hurt you all that much. You're summoning maybe once or twice a turn. So what you lose is you lose to Ash. If anything, you don't really lose to Maxi. You lose to Ash. It's the opposite of Traptrix. Traptrix loses to Maxi and is good against Ash. I think I messed up my sequences a little bit there. I forget what he mills me here. He does mill me a Keldo, so as I said, Keldo's pretty good there. So I activate a bunch of cards in my graveyard. He tries to combat my cards, which is fine. He forces me to activate my Keldo. I hit his a couple of his cards too. He has a Fairy Tale in there, banishes a bunch of it. Yeah, Chainlink 8, pretty crazy, huh? So I messed up my play because I thought I can get out barrier, but for some reason I couldn't. So here I end up just popping the fairy tale because I was afraid of him. This is where I was afraid of him going into time thief. So we just blew up the fairy, even though at this time he doesn't have enough cards to bring her out again, unless he, you know, does something. But we'll just keep watching here. Yeah, he goes into Sprite Spring, which I forgot he could do. He's still under Maxi right now. I think without Maxi, he might have potentially win the game here. So he activates Happiness or Screen. Yeah, I chain the Boldrake, targeting that. Then he has another Fairy Tale that he just banishes it to stop my Boldrake from coming out, which is fine, I suppose. And I drew the Medora, which is really good. Like I mentioned, Medora is just a godsend with any of the Chandeliers or any of the Stovies they haven't used. So he tries to go to this, which is fine. Like, I guess I didn't particularly care too much. He's gotta target that, sure. Goes to Sprite Spring. Here, after Spring summons, I dump the Medora with the Chandelier, and yeah, that was it. I don't think he had any real way of getting over Lady, and then just all the cards in my hand. So yeah, that one definitely I think just Maxi won the game, but still, as you can kind of see, the Calbeck, the Medora, and the Visceral's really good against two elements right there. Pretty bad hand here, I want to say, just because I drew two ladies, but got the skill drain though. So as you can see, yeah, I drew two more useless cards, unfortunately, but I think we can still set up here. Okay, so I summon out this, and the reason why I summon this thing out is to be able to bring out Lovely from the grave, and then just return this to hand. Because I don't really want to return Lady, I guess, yet. I want to keep her on the board, but yeah, we'll see how this goes. All right. At least that's my initial thought. So I do this. And I kind of misplayed here a little bit. So I was thinking he's branded, right? Because I saw the Bestial, so I go for the D barrier, blind D barrier, and then go for the Ariane, because instead of getting out Lovely at this point, I am trying to get out the Clue Clock. He decides to summon out Bestial, which is fine. I let it resolve. Banish that. You get out Clue Clock, or add something back to hand. Oh, I guess he hits my Lovely. I thought he's hit my Clue Clock, but he hits my Lovely, which is fine. So I activate the Clue Clock in response to Mammoth, then I activate Skill Drain. Now, I did that just so my I activated the Clue Clock just so my barrier is active, and then I realized he's playing Drag Link, so barrier is essentially kind of useless. So he tries to go to strike, activates that, gets negated. You know, tries to go his combo. Here I activate this calling Pendulum, thinking for some reason it can stop the Pendulum spells, but it's only monster effects. So I misplayed there. It didn't really matter too much. Because their links anyways are they're dragon links, so they're mostly linking stuff away. They're not really gonna fusion summon. Yeah, you see how crazy this the deck is? It's really good. Then he uses 4, goes into Underworld Goddess. It's fine. Attacks over my Ariane. I take a bunch to the face, and here I kind of misplayed too. You'll see in a second. So the reason why I got Big Welcome, and I have one also in the grave, is I'm setting up to get rid of Underworld Goddess. And then I'm saving the welcome for not during my turn, but the turn after. But I just wanted to get the Chandeliers in the graveyard so I can welcome away the Underworld Goddess and then run over the Bystial with a Silver Lady. He tries to negate it, but it's still on the skill drain, so it doesn't matter. Just add it to my hand, draw. And here's where I misplayed, right? So he's at 3,000 life. The original plan was still going to be to activate Big Welcome, get rid of Underworld Goddess, and attack over the Bystial. But for some reason, I was just thinking he was at higher health than than at 3,000, because he did use the Strudo, I think. Yeah, I think he used the Strudo, so that's why he's so low. And then he also used Chaos Emperor. But I didn't realize that. I totally forgot. So I returned the Underworld Goddess, chain that, add that back to hand. Doesn't really matter too much. Attack. And there's where I misplayed. So he goes on to 2,500. So if I just went into battle phase and then activated Bystial Drake, I don't know, targeting Lubellion or something, I would have had a body on the board just to kill him. So a minor misplay there. I missed Lethal for sure. So I set another card. Set the other Labrynth this time around to act as an interruption, I guess. Yeah, he Pendulum summons this thing, attacks. I summon Maxis. Doesn't really matter too much at this point. I resolve. I summon out another big lady. Return one of them. Blow up the thing with Welcome Labrynth, and then he just summons this. Tries to go into Romulus. Also gets negated. And then scoops from there. Alright, so what was that? Alright, so I think we're on this one now. So this should be the final replay. And this one I think is where we kind of like go the nuts here. Didn't really give our opponent a chance to really play it. He would sort of combo off. So like another mediocre hand. I mean, it's okay going second, but this going first I was a little sketched. But, you know, got the cards I needed, so activated that. Chain the Chandelier. Sometimes I mess up. Sometimes I go Chandelier, then Clue Clock, and that order really screws you up. So get the Welcome Labrynth, because I already have Big Welcome in my hand, so summon that, activate this because you need that. Get out Lovely, return the Clue Clock. So far he has no hand traps, so we're just... here I'm getting Lovely just because, like, if I hit a Tearlament, I can still Mammut and then get Druid Swarm for the turn after, so I wasn't too afraid. So I'm just gonna blow up a card in his hand just to see. Hit Cells Ban, which I was like, okay, sure. Set 3 cards, pretty good if it's a Tearlaments deck. But with this, with the two welcomes and the Clue Clock, I think we go for it. I'm gonna go ahead and activate this, get her. This I guess you don't really need her as you could have just gone for big lady first. But I just decided to be a little bit greedy and see if this works. Activate this, summon this out. Because I wanted to bring Ariane back to my hand just to, you know, get a following turn. And then, yep, that's it. So my opponent wasn't sure what deck he was playing. I just saw Cells Ban, and then let's actually check his deck. Well, I guess it's Infernities, or Infernoid, sorry. And yeah, that would definitely cause you to basically just quit the game if I was about to activate Eradicator and just if he's 60 cards. I assume he also has. Yeah, it looks like grass is greener, and I guess sales bands to grab it, or left arm offerings to grab it. I don't remember what sales bands does. But either way, we're playing. Like if he had red reboot, maybe he'd be fine. He'd probably win if he just had the red reboot, but he didn't. And he doesn't look like he plays any other hand traps in the deck. Just a red reboot, and that's it. So yeah, I would have just gotten out Lady, activate Eradicator, sacrificing one of them, and then blow up basically his whole hand. Anyways, that is really it. I don't know if there's any other crazy games to show you guys here. Yeah, most of the games ends in like 2 to 3 turns, so not anything super crazy. Um, Let me check in any of my replays if we had anything cool. This was a few days ago. I forgot what this was against. Oh, Bestials. I don't think I was playing Labrynth. I was probably playing Trap Chicks. But anyways, I hope that's it. I hope this video was somewhat educational and kind of showing you how to sort of pilot the deck. Like I'm still sort of new with Labrynth. But so yeah, so far, yeah, it got me from Diamond 4 to Masters 5. And then I'm just gonna keep playing this until I sort of master it. You know, definitely it's kind of a toss up between what kind of hands you get and what you mill and but overall I think the deck a little less weak to hand traps per se, except for Ash. But we're definitely really bad going second. That's the problem with this particular deck is at least Trap Chicks you can go second a little bit better because it's more of a proactive deck. This deck is more of a reactive deck, so we don't really have any good like normal summons. We don't really, if we draw a bunch of traps, you know, going second, that sucks. Trap Chicks a little different because you have a bunch of normal summons, and the traps you have they're still bad going second, but you generally just use them as fodder for Hotea and things like that, so they're not totally dead in your hand going second. But yeah, but with Labrynth, it's like if you can go first and you have like a lot of hand traps set up and able to get out big welcome and regular welcome and start getting out your boss monsters, like, I think you're pretty much set. Yeah, as you can see through my replays, I did not summon anything from my extra deck at all. It's just basically just Lady beatdown, Lovely beatdown, blow up cards in their hand. Basically just a control deck. Activated this thing once, activated Eradicator maybe once or twice during the showing, but D-Barrier was really good. And yeah, that's really it. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, this deck's been pretty fun, and also has been pretty frustrating sometimes. You know, like I mentioned, going second, and the fact that your extra deck just sucks because like you just don't summon anything from this thing. So you're relying essentially just on your traps and your monsters to win you the game, and nothing in your extra deck, which has its pros and its cons. Like the con is you're just really relying on your opening hand being good, where like if you have a deck like Trap Tricks that can essentially always have access to their extra deck and kind of have answers packed into their extra deck, your extra deck answers nothing. So that's sort of the difference. Like with Labrynth, your opening hand really matters because all your threats and your removal and your answers are in your opening hand. Trap Chicks, you can use your extra deck to sort of like answer things on the board. You can go into Zeus, you can you know, get out a big beater or a combo, etc. Labrynth, you just don't really do any of that. Totally different playstyle. You know, more control and then more mid-range, you know, whatnot. But yeah, both trap decks I definitely love playing. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed those replays. And because I don't really like playing and commentating at the same time, because I can't really focus. So I hope you guys are okay with just replays then rather than me playing and commentating, because I kind of suck, not gonna lie, doing that. Anyways, that's it. You guys have a good one. See you next time.